everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Headed Home podcast. I'm Jen.
What is up?
We're
I'm Andrew.
We're doing something a little bit different today. We don't have a guest. We are just talking about how we set goals and the process that we use. We've been using for about 10 years now.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Back in our 20s. Just kidding.
Yeah. My teens.
Yeah. So we've been doing kind of this similar way of setting goals for the last 10 years and obviously are better at it some years than others.
I still feel like I'm not starting over, but still have a lot to learn.
Yes, I would agree. You do have a lot to learn.
I think we all do. That's why we're here.
That is why we're here. So we just thought like, hey, this is a great way to kind of have us process and think about what we're doing, but also to share with you all kind of like our process and structure that we use. So yeah, should we get into how we do it?
Let's get into it.
All right.
Before then, like, is this all business? Like, is there no?
Oh no. What do you want to talk?
Personal stuff.
What personal?
How are you? What's your biggest struggle right now, and what are you doing to tackle it?
How is that personal? That sounds like business.
Personal struggle.
Okay, so I will.
What are you struggling with personally?
My current personal struggle is that I feel completely overwhelmed. Well, I'm not overwhelmed anymore. At the end of the year, I felt completely overwhelmed with the amount of things that we had going on. And so for me, we needed to or at least I needed to just make it so I have nothing going on in January. Yeah. I mean, nothing. Like I want as little amount of expectation of me as possible.
December was a busy month.
Yeah.
I think the holidays are busy for everybody. And that's the cool thing about setting goals though too, is like, and I know it's the typical January 1st, New Year's resolution, new year, new me type thing. But I do think there's something to that, like kind of quieting down in January, getting your routines down, getting your habits down that you want to kind of run with through the rest of the year. But I struggled with that too. December was crazy.
Yeah, I think like one thing that I really took from COVID a couple years ago when we were at home every day for a year.
Yeah, the pandemic,
is that we I really valued that time to at home, and I felt like my mind was decluttered, my everything was in order. And so as we've kind of gotten back into our normal routine of things, I'm missed that. And so I feel like one thing that I'm really intentionally trying to do is be really thoughtful about what I'm saying yes to. And I've always struggled with that because my initial response is to always want to do things. And so I don't know. I'm just trying to in January, keep it all clear. Yeah. As clear as I can.
I like that.
What are you struggling with? Hold on. Are you struggling with?
Let me begin.
Are you struggling with the fact that you haven't seen me in anything other than sweatshirts for the last 3 weeks?
That especially.
Okay, because it's not changing, but
I like you in sweatshirts though.
Thanks, babe. That's not what you're struggling with.
No, I would just say trying to get back into a disciplined routine is a struggle. Over the past few months, I think I've been pretty I don't know, just loose with it, just not eating exactly the way that I want to eat, not getting up on time, not getting my workouts in the way that I want to. And there was reasons for that. I mean, it was a busy holiday season. We had a lot going on. But yeah, I would just say getting back into that daily grind of getting up at the certain time, working out, reading, meditating, cold plunge, everything that I want to do in a day.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of energy, I guess. And just I don't want to do any of it. I know it's good for me, but I don't want to do it. So, just getting myself back into that routine and those habits has been a challenge. I think that's tough.
Okay. But let me ask you this, because I'm always I like observing myself when this happens. When you are off your routine and like, let's say you're kind of like rogue, you're not working out, you're sleeping in, you're like eating a bunch of shit, like doing all this stuff. Are
Mhm.
you happier doing that, or are you happier in your routine even though you still don't want to do all of that?
Yeah, isn't that just like such a mind trip? I mean, I'm long term happier. I feel more confident. I feel more fulfilled. I feel more like passionate and excited about like my day to day when I'm doing that routine,
Yeah,
but it's hard as hell to do.
I know.
And so
I
like
know.
I don't know. I would definitely say I'm happier in that routine and like doing those habits because I'm also like proud of myself.
Yeah.
I feel like when I give in to some of that instant gratification stuff, which I know is it's gonna happen, and in a lot of ways it's necessary, and there's times and there's places for that, but that gratification it's instant, and so I might be happy for an hour or two, but then yeah, I might regret that, or my body might not feel the same way. I might not have the same energy for my kids or my business or my health or you when I'm just kind of indulging,
Yeah.
So I think that's where that like overall fulfillment is probably a little bit lower when I'm just kind of like flying by the seat of my pants. Do you feel like that?
Oh yeah, no, totally. I thought of another struggle that we're both having, and we haven't solved it yet, but it's like
Let's
loom
solve it right now.
it's looming. It's like looming in the clouds of our lives right now, and we're just trying to like figure it out and talk about it. So we, I would say, have spent the last like 8 years really trying to like figure out systems and routines at like home and work and everything. Like we're just kind of like weirdos with systems and routines. And we're reaching the stage with parenting where like their schedules are changing because we both of us, like a big part of our lives has been spent in sports. Um, and that's something we really value. Like I was a high school coach. And I think, you did a ton of sports.
Mhm.
And I think we both really understood the value of like having coaches and like having something in your life that like you love and can fall back on when like shit gets really hard, and it does. And so we really want to make sure that our kids are involved in that stuff. It is not conducive to our 8 p.m. bedtime.
Yep.
And the 8 p.m. bedtime is important because we wake up so early to get our routine in and do all this stuff. So we're like, I feel like we're like kind of having an issue right now, but it's not bad yet. Like it's
No.
like we know it's coming. And so we're having to like figure out, I mean, one of two things is gonna happen. Either one, we're gonna have to rearrange stuff. So like something happens in our day, like during the day or at night. Or two, we're gonna have to let go of some of the stuff that we're doing.
Yeah.
And I don't know which is going to happen, or maybe both of them are gonna happen, but that's, I think, something like as we were talking about the end of this year, like that we are gonna have an issue with.
Yeah. I agree. No, I feel that looming for sure. Um, I don't know how we're gonna handle that. I think we just kind of have to take it day by day. And I think the hardest part for me with that is I'm a very rigid person when I
No,
get into that
no,
routine.
no,
It's
hold
no,
on.
so it's really hard for me to have that like
You are?
it's really hard for me to have that like balance and moderation. I'm getting a lot better at it, but I'm the type of person that like if I decide to set up like my routine where I'm getting up at a certain time every morning and I'm working out and I'm doing all these things, if that gets thrown off, I have like I'll go off the rails for a while. Like if I can't do that like 2 days in a row, and
He's a Gemini, everybody.
does that
That's,
matter?
yeah, I feel like that does, but keep going.
Yeah, so it's like the extremes.
Yeah.
So like what I know I need to work on is like, okay, maybe I'm able to do that routine 2 days out of the week, but I need to be okay with the fact that for the other 5 days, I might not be able to do that.
Yeah.
And that's a little scary to me because I know that if I'm not completely diligent Monday through Friday at least with that routine, then the ability for me to fall off track is just, or the odds of me falling off track is a lot higher.
So I would say for me, like kind of, I wouldn't say similarly, but like one thing that I think about is I'm always trying to make my life as like simple as possible. So like if I can remove a lot of like the decisions that I make every day around like my routine or like things I need to get done and like systemize stuff, I have more brain capacity for like other stuff I want to do.
Yeah.
So the thing I worry about is like if our when our schedules start to get crazy, there's going to be days where we
Mhm.
can't do stuff, and so that is going to like increase the amount of capacity of decision making that I'm gonna have to have around like those systems
Yeah.
every day. And so I don't know. I mean, I think we have time to think about it the next like year, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I
don't
don't
I
know.
need a year. I
No, I
can't
don't
know.
think we're gonna
I
have a year. I don't think we're gonna have a year. I think it's not. I actually think it's like changing right now.
Shut up. Okay. Well, anyway, that's what I'm struggling with.
But I think that's a. I'm glad we brought that up because I think that, you know, that's a lot of reasons why people fall off resolutions, right? Like you
Yeah.
create this kind of ideal day, let's say, right?
Hold on. I have to say, remember when we just had Ava? Ava was a newborn. It was 2014. And
Mhm.
Andrew and I had this ridiculous goal that we were going to learn. We were going to speak fluent Spanish. And I
Yeah.
would say I went through AP Spanish. You went through,
I
we're
mean,
not really
no.
sure if you.
I'm actually pretty decent at Spanish
Babe.
though, for how little like schooling I
Okay,
had in it.
fair.
See,
But but we had decided that we were going to learn Spanish in at nighttime or something, like
yeah, we
in
were. I
bed.
think we broke out our day, and we were
Yeah.
like really into time blocking,
Yeah.
and we were like, where can we? Okay, here's 30 minutes before bed. Like, let's do Rosetta Stone, I think, and we did it for.
Oh my
I think we
God.
did it for like a week or two.
I just remember being so tired. Like
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, if
wasn't
you've
realistic.
ever had a newborn, like,
Yeah,
and we were
what
just
we
like,
thinking?
what the hell? But I
Yeah,
think,
so that would have been January. She was born in
yeah,
November, so that would have
yeah,
been the beginning of 2015.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that is your point. Like when you set resolutions, you have to be really thoughtful about like how does this actually fit into your life? Because
Mhm.
I could come up with a lot of things that like I just aren't realistic at this point in my life. Like,
Right.
one of the things Andrew and I want to do is hike the what is it? The
Pacific Trail.
Yeah.
And climb Kilimanjaro.
We
I don't
can't
know about that anymore after seeing that Everest documentary, but I would love to do the Pacific Trail.
but we can't do that right
can't do
now.
that.
That's
No,
not in
It's
our
not realistic.
right. So I think like being really intentional and thoughtful about like what is it, how does it break out every day is really important.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to know that if you're a really rigid person like me, it will like you're gonna run into issues, right? Like you have to
Anal, is that the word that I
all or nothing. I mean, I think that's how I'm an
that
extreme
is
person.
so
Like if I'm
you.
disciplined, if I'm on, like, and that's one of the things I think that has made me successful in certain areas. Like let's say health, for example. Like I'm not in like fantastic shape by any means. I'm not like a professional athlete, but like I think I can stay in shape because I can turn on that switch for 3 months
Yeah.
and I can not drink. I can be pretty diligent. Maybe definitely a month, maybe 2, 3 at the longest. But I think once I get off that for maybe a day, it's just like we'll throw it all out the window because now I'm on this other side.
And now you're on the complete
Right.
the man could literally go from like eating 30 cookies one night in like 5 minutes, and then I woke up, this happened over break. The next morning you were like, what were you eating? It was like you had
I'll
I don't
just
even
switch that diet up, but I mean that's just what works for me. It has worked for me in the past. I don't like it. I'm working on that moderation and also just not taking myself too seriously. I think that I get in that mode of like taking myself too seriously, being too rigid, being too extreme on either end, when I have to just kind of let go and be like, okay, like it's not going to be perfect today, but that doesn't mean that tomorrow I can't jump back on that routine. And I think one thing that I've learned from, like the weekly rhythm register and this book that we use to set goals is that, okay, like you're not going to win every day. You might fall off the wagon for a day, a week, maybe even a month, but like you have to get back on, right? Like you have to get back on if you want to hit your goals, if you want to do what you say you're going to do.
because the
You
weekend
want to do.
used to throw us off completely for months. Like if we had
Oh
a
yeah, it'll mess
weekend,
with me bad.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's all. I feel like I've been struggling with that for a couple years, like trying to find that balance of like, being diligent and disciplined, but also like letting go sometimes, but not like letting
Like
that
taking your
spiral out of
like
control when I let go for a weekend, you
like
know?
taking your shirt off and getting crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. I mean, that's actually happened. What what instance are you referring to? I don't think you were there for a couple of those.
Oh, I don't want to know.
I'll tell you guys
No,
another
yeah,
time.
just
But
so we use a it's by Darren Hardy. It's called Living Your Best Year Ever.
yeah,
And what I really like about this book is it's like very detailed, because I think a lot of times what can happen, or what's happened with me, is like you set a goal, but then you don't know how to like break it down into these like chunks that are manageable over time. Um, and so that's been really a helpful tool for us. Um, the One of the interesting things that the book has you do to start with is really like review the last year. So like what were like the 10 best things that happened to you, or not even best, but
yeah,
could just be
10 greatest
things.
happenings
Yeah.
from last year. Yep.
Um,
Your
and so
accomplishments, greatest lessons you've learned. This helped me a ton because I don't know, like last year from a production standpoint in my business, I didn't hit the goals that I wanted to hit. And so it felt like it was almost a failure of a year
mm,
in that way.
so yeah.
But I know I worked my butt off all year. I know I made a lot
I
of
think, hold
progress.
on, I think you worked harder this year than, I would say, 90% of the other years that you've
Yeah,
worked.
like I put in a lot of work. I made a lot of progress in building future business, but like just the numbers this year, I didn't hit my goals. So um I was like heading into January 1st when I
Mhm.
opened this book, I was kind of just like, down a little bit and just feeling like, I don't know kind of what goals to set this year. I didn't hit them last year. I kind of felt like I failed. And then just even going through and like, the 10 greatest happenings from last year, going through and thinking about it and listing all of that out, it made me realize like, damn, like I did a lot last year, and it kind of sparked me up again, to set these goals for this upcoming year.
Well, and one of the things like because we kind of sat down together and our kids were there, but well, I want to get into that later with Ava.
Okay.
But one of the things that we did is we sit down together and like talk about it. And so I think for us, we had a big change last year. I left at the end of 2021. We made like a really intentional decision for me to leave my job in education. And it was a great job. Like I made good money and, whatever, to kind of go all in on your business. And
Yeah.
we kind of walked in last year in January to like, hey, Jen does educational consulting on the side. We don't know what that's going to look like. We actually don't even know what her job is going to be helping.
Mhm.
And we literally for 12 months, I mean, built out so many systems. I mean, it was
Mhm.
like from scratch of things that we had not been doing before. And one of the lessons that I learned last year is like, you might like, you're not going to necessarily reach your goals on December 31st. Like, there's not like this thing that happens automatically. And the other thing is like making progress is not flashy all the time. Like, I think for us last year, we were talking about like what was like a good one word summary for last year. And I was like, honestly, like, what did I say? Mine was like a slog. Like,
Yeah.
it just
Trudge,
felt
grind.
every day was like, it was hard.
Yeah.
And it
It
was,
wasn't glamorous. It
no,
wasn't fun. It
no,
was necessary.
yes. I mean, it was like, really building stuff out, and it was just, I think, but that's how it
But I
happens,
think,
right?
right. I think when you're talking about becoming successful in anything,
Yeah,
like think about working out. Like if
right.
you haven't worked out in a few months or whatever, a
You
few
don't see
weeks,
shit for
no,
months.
and it sucks.
Yeah,
You don't want to work out, in
yeah,
the first few workouts, the first few months are just terrible,
Yeah.
until you start getting stronger, and then you've built that foundation, and then they become like, it becomes easier because it's a habit. You're stronger, so the workouts become easier. But it's this, I mean, it's the same thing in business, and that's what we saw last year for sure.
Yeah. So that was my, I think, like, big awareness aha moment from last year was like that. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just not going to be like sexy all the time. Like, it's not.
When you just got to make a little bit of progress, you just have to inch a little bit closer. I think that I get overwhelmed too. And I think I faced that a lot at the beginning of last year. I had so many ideas. We had so many ideas, and we did
Yeah.
implement a lot of them, but we didn't get to everything.
Mhm.
But that can be a little overwhelming, and it's almost
Yeah.
like paralysis by analysis. You see everything and you want to do so much, but you're not going to be able to like maybe get it all done in the time span that you want to. So it's just like inching a little bit closer every day
Yeah.
is progress.
And I also think like one of the things that's really helped me with like having lots of ideas is having a structure. Like, if you can't implement that idea right now, and I mean, I do this with you, like, we throw it on the calendar 3 months out, and it's like, hey, let's look at this now,
Mhm.
and like having a system. So
Yeah.
we don't even think about it for 3 months, but like it's on my calendar. So I actually don't need any more brain energy to like remember it. I just have it on our calendar to remember
Yeah.
and think about. And I think
You
if
do a good job of that. I think that, yeah, I think if it wasn't for you putting things on the calendar like that, I might forget them.
I know, that's why I do it.
Is that the only reason why? Would you do it if it wasn't for me?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's
So
how I remember shit. I
Yeah.
calendar everything out. Everything I have to think about in the future is on my calendar. Isn't that embarrassing?
yeah, I feel
So
bad. I mean, no, I get it. Like it's counter. It's like that discipline equals freedom quote that we talk about a lot, Jocko Willink, and it's like, um, it doesn't seem like discipline should equal freedom, right? That seems like, yeah, wow,
totally.
like what a bore,
Yeah.
And I get it, but like that is actually how you have more freedom with your time and more freedom with opportunities, is by having that discipline of doing the thing that you don't want to do, even though you need to do it.
I think that what's helped me too with that is when you're really like intentional about like what's coming up or what you want to do, you can be more thoughtful about how you spend your time. And
Yeah.
like now I feel like I spend my time on things that I actually want to do instead of like when I wake up in the morning, whatever's like in my face to do.
Right.
And that has been like really helpful when thinking about like achieving goals that we have. Like, we just spend our time, I think, in a better place than we did, 5 years ago.
I mean, definitely a more productive place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed. So this book, it's really great because this book makes you go through the last year, think about like the smartest decision you made last year, who are your greatest influences, if you could go back and do things again, what would you do differently, biggest risks taken last year, things you need to do less of next year.
Things you need to stop doing altogether.
Yeah.
We won't get into those. Just kidding. Unless you want to.
No, I
don't
mean,
want
no,
to.
I
I'm good.
I can only imagine what is one of yours?
One of them?
Yeah, tell me.
Let's see. Gambling on sports games.
Can I write? That's
No, you're not
stop
writing
completely.
It down.
Oh
No, I did put that. Yes, I am gonna. I don't know.
but
Okay, right.
what I will say,
that
I saw this TikTok video. Hold on, I just have to say this. I saw this TikTok video of this lady, and it was so freaking hilarious because she was like sitting in her car, and she's like, "I did something real bad. Told my husband that I wasn't going to eat out for the whole month of January." And she's like, "It's January 3rd and I'm dying."
Yeah. No, and I mean, I'll make the commitment to that. I can make the commitment to that.
The entire year?
I'm saying it right here. I wrote it down. I don't actually even like really remember writing this down. It was just, I had to come up with
It's after you bet on the Broncos and they lost.
Yeah, it was a rough year for the Broncos. I know I bet on them a few times, but no, I mean, I think it's, I don't know. For me, one of those things about gambling is like it's never you're never actually going to win. Like
Yeah.
eventually whatever you do win, you're just going to put back into it. So I enjoy gambling on sports games because I think it makes the games more fun to watch, but it is a waste of money.
But
And it's a waste of energy too, because I feel like it's me putting in, like effort and money into something that I really don't have any control over. So if I'm gonna put my energy and effort into and money into something that it impacts me, I want to have like at least a little bit of control over it.
You also, I think, for what it's worth to anyone listening, you also like bet like $1 sometimes. Like I'll look over and it's like, I'm like, what is the freaking point of you even betting $1?
Yeah,
like what?
I mean, it depends on how much I have left in my account. I mean, if I have $100 in there, like you don't see the big bets.
Okay.
I don't bet all that. It's not like I don't think I have a gambling problem, but it's not.
If you do, I have
again,
a
but I mean, I think that's what this is. It's looking at it and being like, all right, like what last year, what are some of the things that I did that maybe like I spent time on that just aren't bringing me to where I want to go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's not that the gambling's bad. I know it's like super popular. I like doing it, but I'm just like, can I find something else to do that I actually have a little bit of control over, so that if I feel bad about the team that I bet on losing, like do something that at least I tried at, because I don't mind losing, you know, like in rec basketball, like losing is part of it, but like at least I know I had a say in it and I was able to like try and push myself. But
what if we gamble on your rec basketball games?
That would be cool. Who are we gonna bet with though?
I could be like
you could be the bookie. Yeah. How would you do that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that we can make that out on our goals.
Yeah.
Isn't there some like?
I think there's some against that. Yeah.
Okay, just kidding. We're not doing that.
And then watching like meaningless videos like on YouTube, which are basically just adding negative emotions. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Sometimes you just go down that rabbit hole.
You know more. I mean, we hang out basically, like we work together and we live together. I see you all day. It like shocks me how many random like pieces of information you have from videos. Like I don't watch that many random videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
You literally like
I'll just watch certain like podcast clips, and like those are okay. But then sometimes you go down that rabbit hole of like crime scene, you know, like interrogations. Like that's super interesting to me. Like, you know, where the detectives interrogate, but then it just like leaves you feeling like, damn, that sucked. You know, that's sad. And then and I get that's part of the world, but like if it's messing with my mood, if it's messing with my emotions, then why am I doing it? You know? Yeah.
Well,
we could do the whole podcast. Right. I'll leave the other couple out.
Okay.
Just kidding.
So after you like kind of review the previous year and kind of think through like what went well, what didn't go well, like what are you proud of, all that stuff. You go through like things that you're grateful for, which I think are really important. Yep. One of the things that we've worked into our daily routine is, I mean, I do my gratitude stuff in the morning. And the kids at night before they go to bed, we talk about like what we're grateful for and try to be really intentional about thinking about things that
like new things
are unusual, right?
Yeah,
like
that we've never said before.
Yours last night was blankets, I think. You know, but like for them, then they're like, oh yeah, I love my blanket. Like, and so that's been, I think something really cool if you have kids that we've worked really hard on. And then from there in this book, which I think is one of the most helpful ways to break out goals, is Darren Hardy in this book breaks goals down into like, I think it's like 8 different sections, and he calls it the wheel of life. What I like about it is sometimes I think you can get so focused on like one particular wheel or component of the wheel. So like you might be real in great shape, but like your finances and like your relationships might be shit, right?
Your spirituality.
Yeah. So like, family. Yeah. So it has family, relationship, physical, financial, business, lifestyle, mental, spiritual.
Yeah.
And then it has you kind of like break down in every section of like, what are some goals that you want to accomplish in each of these? And you kind of narrow it down to 10 from there. And then you narrow it down to like your 3 big ones for the year, which I think is really important because 10 is a lot. And I mean, there are things that I think on my list of 10 from last year that we did that weren't on my 3 big
Right.
ones, but it focuses you on your 3 most important things
Yep.
because ultimately when you're going throughout your year, you have to really slim down what you want to do.
Yeah. I think it also helps you consolidate.
Yeah.
So like if you have one goal that you're like, okay, if I hit that goal, then I know I'm gonna like knock out this goal, this
yep,
goal, this goal.
that's so true.
You know, like if I hit my business production goal or my income goal, let's say, if you have that as a goal and then like maybe paying off debt as a goal, where you know if you hit
Yeah.
your business goal, then you're going to be able to pay off debt or do other goals that are tied to what comes from you hitting your business goal. So
Or buy your wife a house in Costa Rica where only
right.
she
Or your husband, you know?
lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. I can ship you off. I'll take the kids. Just kidding, guys.
So once you kind of like figure out what those 3 big goals are, then what you do is every week you have this kind of like habit tracker.
It's called the weekly rhythm register.
Yeah, and so
I think they changed it because wasn't it like
I don't
I thought
know.
he was calling it something different last year. It used to be the weekly rhythm register, but then I think it was something else. But anyway,
No one cares
it's
about
a tracker. It's a behavior action tracker.
So this is one of the most important things that I want to say right here is this, because I feel like when I started actually tracking my habits is when things changed for me. Because I know every morning when I get up, I'm going to and it takes me less than a minute. I mean, literally 30 seconds to look through and be like, how did I do yesterday? And then it's just a reflection like every single day. And then at the end of the week, I know I review the week and like kind of make my goals for the next week or whatever. But they're all really focused around those 3 big things. And so that's been like really helpful, I think, for me. And
Yeah.
I don't know if that's your experience too, but
oh no, totally. Yeah, no, 100%. And it's kind of crazy. Like when you start using it, you start realizing like, I guess how I started realizing like how inconsistent I really am. Like
yeah.
if I'm not tracking it, sometimes I'm like, oh, I had a great week. You know, I worked out and maybe I only worked out like 3 times when really I think my goal should be 5. So like it's just kind of interesting. Like you go 3 days and you work out 3 days and you feel like, oh my God, I'm as productive as ever. And then you're like, okay, I still have 4 more days. So I think it's definitely eye-opening, but yeah, it's definitely going to help you be more, efficient and effective for sure.
One thing that has helped me, especially in January, because I think like one thing we talked about at the beginning of January when we were kind of filling all of this out is we get overwhelmed, right? Like you get overwhelmed with all the stuff. So I don't start everything right away. I actually spend the first couple weeks like scheduling time out to like implement things. So like a lot of my implementation that I start doing is really just calendaring out time to think through stuff or like implement stuff or look at something that I need to look at. And that's been like really helpful to me.
So how do you hold yourself accountable? Right? Yeah, I guess how do you hold yourself accountable to like make sure that you're going back and like actually doing those things that you've scheduled for yourself? Is that just having a commitment to calendar?
Yeah. So I think it goes back, and this was one thing I talked about last night. Because another thing we do with our kids is talk about like one thing we messed up during the day. Because we're trying to really talk to them about like how everyone like messes up and fails. And one of the things that I said last night was like, I didn't do the things on my calendar today. I like went rogue and did something else. And so one, I think for me, the thing that I'm always working on is like integrity. And really when I say integrity, I know that it's hard to have integrity with other people in your life if you don't have integrity with yourself. And so I work really hard trying to have integrity with myself, meaning that if I say I'm going to do something, like I'm going to do it. And I think that starts in your calendar, right? Like, so for me, having integrity with your calendar means like best practice would be like, get it done when you say you're going to get it done. Second best is like, if you can't get it done for some reason that day, then move it out. So like, I don't ignore it. I take that block of time on my calendar and I move it to where I think, and then in that moment, I always reflect on like, hey, why did I not get this done today? What do I need to do differently when I'm scheduling time so that I actually hit the thing that I say I'm going to do in that day?
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of that book, Procrastinate on Purpose by Roy
Yeah.
Vaden, where if you're putting it in your calendar and you're looking at it in the future, even if you don't do it in the future, it just means that it wasn't as important to you as you thought it would be.
Totally. So
It's a
true.
way to kind of like filter out what is really, because then if you see it on your calendar and you're like, oh shit, like I really do want to do that, I have to
Yeah.
do that, then you'll do it.
You'll,
But if it's something you can push out again,
and you're
then
like,
maybe you push it out
"Eh."
3 or 4 times, you just delete it.
Right.
Because it was never that important to you
Because
anyway,
like, why?
long term.
Totally. That's so true.
Yeah.
One thing I did want to mention is, and this was like, I think is really important, we haven't touched on this, is this is like a full year process. So like, you know, you review your week at the end of the week, you set new goals for the next week, you review at the end of the month, you review at the end of the quarter, and you're always tying them and looking back to like your original goals. So like, I think that making sure that you have time in your schedule to really do that and like systemize it is really important, because otherwise you're not going to do it, you know?
Yeah.
Like last year, I really struggled. My routine changed last year when I had previously, when I was in education, I had a system, a time in my day where I knew I was looking at my goals. I didn't have that last year. So I had to like rebuild all of my like routines. And so I did not do a good enough job at like reviewing stuff. So like I had to figure out when the best time for me was,
Yeah.
you know.
When is the best time for you now? Like, when do you look at it?
So I do it right in the morning after I do like my gratitude stuff.
Yeah.
And I just tag it right after that.
Yeah, because then you can kind of catch up from yesterday.
Mhm.
Nights can get a little crazy with the kids or whatever you're doing, but then yeah, in the morning, first thing when you wake up, I think within the first hour of getting
Yeah.
up, looking at it, maybe checking off a couple of things,
Yeah.
and then also just re-looking at your goals, I think is helpful every day. You know,
Totally.
just like seeing those top 3 again. And there's also spots where you can put like fixes and lessons, and you can write down things that you're grateful for in there, but you can kind of even use and there's a bunch of a note section too, that if you want to use the book is like a journal where you learn something and you want to put it down, or maybe you change your goals throughout the years. I've done that throughout the year. I've done
Yeah.
that multiple times, but just to like also have a place where you can brain dump ideas, that's helpful too.
Well, yeah, one of the things I do is, and this was a goal for me, when was that? 2018 or 2019?
Yeah.
It was like 3 or 4 years ago. I had a goal that every month of my life I was going to do something new.
So
And
what is
it could be anything from, well, I wanted to go on a helicopter ride, but then you kiboshed that after Kobe died.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
can you blame me?
anyway, so every month for the last 3 years, I've done something new that I've never done before. And really, like, what I wanted to make sure that I keep doing is like get out of my comfort zone. So I'm never in a position where I feel like I want to just keep doing everything that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And
do you
so
have one for January yet?
No, I don't have it yet. But like Andrew is saying, for those of you that are watching, I just
What's
on the
this
very
over here?
well, I'm explaining it.
Sorry.
But on the front cover, I just have a place where I write new experiences 2023. And then I just write every month, like what the new experience is. And so it's just a good visual reminder for me that like, hey, Jen, you have nothing for January yet. You have to do it.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, I've had this goal, and it's not one of my big goals for this year, but just kind of one that's now built into my routine. So I don't have to worry about it necessarily. But where I read 12 personal development books a year.
Babe, Green Eggs and Ham is not. That's your first book, 2023. That's not really the first one.
So stupid. So I have just a list of numbers 1 through 12, and I just know that I'm going to read 12 books this year. And so the one I'm on is Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. So yeah, it's a great place to kind of keep notes or like any other random stuff that you want to make sure. But the one thing I want to talk about before we're done.
And then I want to touch on one more thing.
No, you go.
We're done.
Go ahead.
My one thing that I want to talk about is I struggled with this book a lot when I first started it, because it really does kind of tie you to those big three goals, right? And like what we've had podcasts, we've talked to a lot of top producing agents about this idea as well, where I'm a firm believer that marrying the process and divorcing the result is where it's at, right? So like you've got
So
both in
true.
here, but I think if you're going to put your focus anywhere, you want to put it on that weekly rhythm register. You want to put it on those, what are my weekly habits that I know I need to stay disciplined to do. And if I do that, I'll hit my goals, because we're not just living in 2023, right? And I think that's where in the past I've done this and I've done 1 year and it's been like, okay, cool, I did it. And then you start over the next year and you kind of feel that like emptiness and like, misdirection. So I think that just if you're gonna use a book like this where it's kind of focused on 1 year and your goals in that year, know that you're going to do it again next year and put your focus on the process.
I love that. That's really good. Can you give an example of like marry the process, divorce the result? Like from like business or like something just for.
I mean, so for like, if I have a goal to help 200 families a year, which is my goal this year, I know that that is not going to be reached unless I spend a certain amount of time every single day reaching out to people that I can do business with, whether that's referral partners or that's my clients. So my focus really can't be on hitting that goal. Although once I do, it's going to feel really good because I hit it.
Because that's not a behavior.
That's not a behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just like kind of the result of the daily disciplines, and if I don't do the daily disciplines, and that's really where the fun is, that's where like that grind and, the excitement of hitting that goal comes from. But I think just putting a focus on, okay, checking that box of did I spend an hour prospecting today? I think that's an example that pops into my head.
One of the things Andrew has on his rhythm register every day is to kiss and cuddle with me.
And so far this week,
is this just like is this just your way? So funny. But yeah,
my way to what?
Just kind of like lurk in the shadows.
Yeah, just be like, so got one more box to check off today.
But like, so
I mean, you can put anything you want. I mean, and that's the thing. It's just,
I think that's a cool
thing. And then once
though.
it becomes a habit, like, I don't know, like in prior years, I've put like floss on there every day, because just trying to build that habit of flossing every day. Now that I do it I'm not going to put that on there and check it off. But
well, you got to keep those veneers like,
yeah, I mean, the
solid.
Porcelain, they need to be. But I mean, like you'll kind of, and that's kind of the beauty of using it year over year is, like, okay, I don't need to put that down on the weekly habit tracker because I'm already doing it every day. And you really want to put down, the habits that are going to take you to those three big goals.
Okay. Last thing that I want to say on this, and this was
kicking the table.
Yeah, whatever. This was like the coolest part, I think, for me this year with like goals. So we've talked to our kids since they could talk, basically, about like,
yeah, we've been talking to our kids since they were born. Yes.
Shut up. You're like a little feisty today.
Getting the best of you.
So we've been talking to them about goals, and and really, like, I think the big thing that I just want to mention is like, it's more modeling than talking to them about it. But we always talk at the end of the year about like things, and they make maybe like one or two. In the last few years, we've made one or two goals with each of them that we've really focused on all year. Like that's what we talk to them about. That's what we, at the end of the week, like we talk to them about for the next week, and how are they doing? Like, what do we need to tweak? Blah, blah, blah. This year, was cool because we were sitting down like writing in our books, and Ava, our daughter, who's 8, goes like, "Hey, can I have one of those?" Mm-hmm. And she spent the entire day like, it was like
entire New Year's.
I cried.
She hasn't checked one of the boxes that she but I mean, that's not the point.
No,
like it was really cool seeing her do that. Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest, like a part of me kind of felt like, God, is this okay? Is this the right thing to do? Like, are we going to make her into like some sort of perfectionist? Like, is she going to be fit? Because look, like we we fail, like no one's
Mhm.
perfect. And
Yeah.
sometimes I don't want to set like unrealistic expectations for her, but at the same time, it's like, what's the alternative?
Yeah.
Not having goals, not pursuing, like life's hard. She's going to face challenges as she grows up and in multiple different phases in her life. And like,
Yeah.
I think we have to be cognizant about, and that's why we were talking about hey, what was the mistake that you made today? So we normalize that so that it's not like, we're not here to be perfect. We're not
Mhm.
robots, we're just people trying to get a little bit better every day. But yeah, it was really cool to see her do that. But I think we also have to there's another level of parenting then that
Oh,
is going to make
God.
sure that we're like not turning her into, like a perfectionist because,
Yeah. And I
right?
think what's really important for us is that like her awareness that like you're going to mess up every day and
Right.
you're not
And
likely
that's
going to hit
okay.
your goals.
Right. And that's
That's actually
fine,
great.
right?
Like,
But if you're just
mhm.
pursuing a better self, I think I think that's a positive way to live. I think
Yeah.
it's a positive trait. I think it builds discipline too at a young age that she's going to need in so many aspects of life.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah,
anyway, it's been cool.
It's been cool. And it's
Getting
just
them on.
something that like I'm always thinking of just from like doing lots of school trainings where like it really comes down to modeling. Like you
Right.
have to
We have to do it. We have to be pursuing our best selves.
right.
Or why else would they?
And openly
'Cause they're gonna-
failing,
right.
openly like talking about things that we're struggling with. Because I think what's really cool with Ava and like when I think she has been more honest about things she's struggling with than she would have if we hadn't had conversations like that before. And so that's been neat because it's like, hey, like we're here to help you problem solve, like we're a family and that's what we do is help each other problem solve issues that we're having. And so that's just been like a really cool thing for me to see.
Yeah, I think it helps them. It gives them an opportunity though to talk about those mistakes so that they can then like learn from them.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
So like what mistake did you make today? Okay. What'd you learn from it? What will you try and do different next time?
And she was so proud, like thinking of it, like when she wrote down like the 10 things that she did last year.
Yeah.
She was so
That was
happy.
really cool.
Like it was
Yeah.
just really, really cool to see. So anyway.
That's what we got. So we are coming out with, we're pretty booked up with interviews. I don't know when this one will be released. Maybe we'll release this one sooner than later, but keep following us. We love your guys' interaction. We love the support so far. We had a really good year for the Headed Home podcast in 2022. I think we interviewed 10 guests, maybe 11. So 2022, I think we'll probably
do you like how I just left you alone?
Oh, I was still going. I didn't know. Yeah. You were looking at me weird as if, but no, I think we'll probably at least have one a month. I think what the goal is 26. So I think we're looking at having 26 new guests on this year. So, our goal for the podcast is to, help bring value, to our community. And so, I hope you guys get value from this and feel free to share it with other people and give us feedback, and review us. That really helps on Apple Podcasts. If you can give us a review, if you like what we're talking about, and we appreciate it.
Unless your feedback is that I should not be wearing sweatshirts, and then that's garbage and we won't be listening to it.
Delete that.
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
See ya.